This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about what's going on with the ladies. You mentioned that, Sunny was really the girl who was, or the lady rather, who was getting the big push. We know eventually there's going to be perceived heat between the two, and maybe not even perceived, but that's what we fans have heard. When did you know, hey, Sable and Sunny are going to have an issue? Was it much later, once Sable is sort of sporting the t-shirts and modeling the t-shirts on Raw, that some of that started to come to the surface from Sunny, or was it always there from day one?
I think there's probably undercurrents of jealousy, just like there are today. If we think there's no jealousy in the ladies' locker room, any company, we're BSing ourselves. Of course there is, and in the men's locker room, to some degree. Women are just more honest and open. They generally they don't hide their feelings. Whereas macho guys, the alpha males, I can't show my feelings. So did you cry to Ole JR? Did you get pissed off when the goddamn Bruce Dern shot John Wayne in the back on the Cowboys? I did. I still get pissed off about it. I'm fucking mad right now, Conrad. You know that Matt Hardy has this amazing resemblance to young Bruce Dern in that movie? Those giant teeth that look like big old white dominoes and that long hair. So I go back and watch the Cowboy, watch that one scene where Bruce Dern shoots John Wayne in the back and tell me that's not heel Matt Hardy. Maybe it's another character from Matt. Who knows? So anyway, where were we?
There's a show on Raw where Goldust and Mero are having a match, and it looks like Marlena is starting to come on to Sable. Any hesitation to doing an angle like that from anyone involved in 1996?
Not that anybody would speak up. It was society was changing, and storylines about lesbians or gays in various applications were finding their way onto television. Remember when Soap, that was years ago, was a sitcom on TV, and Billy Crystal's character was gay? You may not remember that.
I don't.
That was one of the first shows that had an openly gay character on had a major part in this weekly show, and it was funny as hell. It was a very funny, but it was a very cutting. I think the show was on, after 9:30, maybe Central Time. It wasn't on early. It wasn't on the 7 o'clock hour, but it was very risque, and it had a lot of people bashing it because of its tawdry subject matter. Sex is a lot about it, but it was so people just started writing about sex because it was, hey, look, it's inevitable. It's just what we have. It is what it is. It's part of our makeup as a human being or any other animal. So I don't think it was looked at too badly. I think it was always going to be a matter of how we handled it. And over the years, we handled it boldly because we had women kissing and things of that nature, the hot lesbian action. And so, if a little bit's good in pro wrestling, let's just overload everything. We're going to go. Let's go. God damn it. Let's go. So that's the deal. And then we went, and nobody said, I don't remember anybody having issues other than maybe a few snide jokes or something along those lines. But some guy saying, I've always been a lesbian. I've always loved women, shit like that. Crazy. So, but no, it was provocative television. We were TV 14, Conrad. We were TV 14. And we wanted to find every male 18 to 49 that we could. We thought this was another avenue to get to that destination.
Well, the company would get cold feet a couple weeks later and change the story from where instead of it being Marlena who has the hots for Sable, now it's Goldust who has the hots for Sable, and he's been giving Marlena presents to give to Sable on his behalf. We also get a bikini contest that was pretty memorable at SummerSlam 96, with Sunny, Sable, and Marlena all participating. We should mention, Goldust is going to be working with Mark Mero on that show, 2.25 stars. He's also debuting the Shooting Star Press, which they're calling the Wild Thing. It's, I guess it's okay. What did you think of this first wild man version of Mark Mero? And when did you realize, well, this isn't quite what Vince was hoping for with the Johnny B. Bad persona?
Well, it wasn't right away. It wasn't right the first day or something. I knew that, he was a little over the topish. But then when you book him with Goldust, who was way over the top, it's like, okay, he wasn't perceived so badly. But I always thought that, Mark always brought a lot of sizzle to a match, flamboyant sizzle, without question. But I thought that sometimes his work, because he's a tough guy, he's a hell of an amateur boxer, should have been more on display. I thought that he didn't resonate with that 18 to 49-year-old male as much as he could have if he had showed more of an edgy, tougher side. But that was not his style, so we went with it. But the match got 2 stars and change. That's about right. I mean, it wasn't bad. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't the best match on the show. But it wasn't booked to be the best match on the show.
They even try some different stuff here. So not only does Goldust have eyes for Sable and so does Marlena, but now Mankind does too. He's chasing her around, calling her mommy. This seems like it's right away. It's been made pretty clear to the fans at home that, hey man, she's going to be a really big deal. How far into this, or was it almost immediately once you saw how enamored Vince was, did you realize she might actually be the real star of this duo just because, I don't know, Vince was fascinated with her? She had it. What's your taking on that?
Well, early on, it was easy to see she had it and she was going to be special. It was always a matter. My only concern was going to be how low road do we go in her presentation? Do we take it to the lowest common denominator, or we do a little bit more classy sexual content? And that may be oxymoronic. Hell, I don't know. It depends on one's perspective, I suppose. But it didn't take long, Conrad. The second time the first time her entrance, people were not familiar with her. By the second entrance she made on television, they were paying attention to her. And she had not spoken a word. She had not done anything but walk to the ring. And that's, that'll get you heat in the locker room, because a lot of people are working their ass off to take big bumps and do this and that and put their bodies on the line to get over and get that reaction. She got her reaction walking, and it was organic as hell. People could not wait to see her. Even the women wanted to see her.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, she's over right away, and clearly all eyes are on her. We should mention that right after this, he's working an Intercontinental title match with Farouk, and Mr. Perfect is involved here, and they're trying to, I guess, make sure that there's a baby face turn for Mr. Perfect, and we're going to use him helping Mark Mero to cement that. The referee is Pat Patterson, and he's going to throw Sunny out. She comes back with a loaded purse with a brick in it. That's super old school. Sunny's going to start fighting with Sable. This is a pretty interesting way to do this. He's going to hit the shooting star press for the win, 2 3/4 stars. But the fun thing is she's already got an angle here with Sable, and apparently, or Sunny rather, and somewhere, during this whole scuffle, Sable accidentally stiffed Sunny in the eye during their slap fight. And it was originally supposed to be a situation where there's a beat down on Sable, but Mero wouldn't go for it. And supposedly there's backstage hate between Mero and Sunny here. Mero, easy for me to say. Chat me up. Do you remember there being some hesitation for physicality on Mark's side? Like he didn't want Sable doing this or that?
Yeah. And rightfully so. Pardon me. Rightfully so, because she wasn't trained. So how fair would it be, if they brought you to AEW, Conrad, and beat the shit out of you? You're not trained. Well, you're not trained for it. Everybody might get a laugh out of it. Oh, it's funny. I've been subject to those fucking deals.
Right.
And they're not fun. So when you're doing something physical that you're not prepared to do, there's a lot of anxiety. And so, but I don't blame Mark for that. That was all somebody's idea that, well, they're going into wrestling mode, and they're creative and they're planning, not taking into consideration that Rena was not trained to take bumps. She was, it was a challenge for her in that slat thing. because inadvertently she stiffed Sonny, and caused all the heat. And Sonny I think Sonny overreacted. She got potatoed. Big deal. That's part of the game. It's not a good part of the game, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen occasionally. So that's how that worked. But Mark did have an objection to the physicality. I think he made the right call, expressed himself in the right way, always polite, always professional. But she wasn't ready for that kind of booking, and no way in heck. But let me tell you something. She knew, Rena knew that for her to get to the big money level of, drawing, whether it be through merchandise and her payoffs, et cetera, she'd have to learn to acquire some of those skills. And if you recall, she even suplexed her husband one time. So she learned to do a few things just to get by, because that was the only way she was going to get to the next level. And that's what, once she got a taste of the gratification and the accolades and the support, she wanted some more, just like anybody else.
Yeah, it's clear to see that right away, the way she's being used, she's going to be a big deal. And maybe it's, the way she's being used that has some heat on Sonny's end, but I'm sure getting stiffed here. But again, to your point, she's not trained. Do you remember the backstage fallout and whether there was quote unquote heat on Mark for not wanting her to be involved or get quote unquote beat up? And certainly I'm sure you remember some of the fallout between Sable and Sonny as a result of this physicality.
Sonny has always been outspoken, and she had enough tenure and she had enough product knowledge that she knew what she was talking about. But sometimes our objectivity gets a little bit blinded when we're talking about our own angle, our own storyline. So there was a little bit, but nothing that wasn't managed. And I mean, it wasn't like, oh my God, it's another day of Sable and Sonny are going to have another run at it each other. It wasn't that bad. It was what you expected to happen. When you get Sonny's got the whole domain, she had the monopoly on that territory, and all of a sudden there's a new storefront coming to town. It's going to be selling their goods, so it's competition, and that didn't set well with some people, and which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it was. And it wasn't a surprise. It's not saying, man, I never thought Sonny and Sable would not get along. Bullshit. Are you kidding? Of course I'm not going to get along. So from what I hear, that's the way it is. And like I said, in every female locker room, that, everybody's not all buddy and we're hugging and kissing and look what we've done. And, the revolution and all this stuff. It's not that hearts and flowers as much as we're led to believe.
Meltzer would write that she really got this push because Tammy Sitch, who's Sonny, was at the time the more marketable of the two, but Tammy had quote unquote self-destructed with management under the pressure of the two being played off against each other. And she had other demons, and Sable, being more receptive to the company's suggestions, surpassed Sonny due to a more favorable push. And then of course, Sitch was eventually fired for all of her problems. Do you think it's almost chicken and the egg, I guess. I mean, you guys are going to go to the more risque attitude era and really push the envelope. Do you think that Sonny would have been a willing participant in that, or was she too far along with her personal demons at the time to really exploit that? Because she was, once upon a time, your most downloaded celebrity on AOL. And just a couple of years later, now that's Sable, a lot of people would say that did feel like Sonny's spot. What say you?
Well, I don't know what spots are permanent. They're not Supreme Court judges, for fuck's sake.
Right.
She got outperformed, and Sable got over. And so what Sonny should have focused on was, how do I work with this woman that's getting over like crazy, so we can both make a lot of money? And I don't think Sonny would have had any issues whatsoever of doing the risque, painted breasts type thing that Sable did. I don't think he's have any issue with it at all. But Sonny has been and still is her own worst enemy, unfortunately, and I feel badly for that. I really do. as we were recording this, she's in jail. So it's tough. And but Conrad, you know me a long time in this world. The one thing I've always said about what do you look for in a talent when you hire? What's the one thing that's got to be in place? Reliability.
Yeah.
And the issue with Sonny was the general consensus was that the volatility and the issues, whatever the hell they were, just we couldn't manage them. And the fact that we were now in the business of hiring divas, that's what they were called at that time. So, the more younger or whatever, the Tori Wilsons and all these Stacy Keeblers and Trish Stratus and Litas, here they come. So it was on. But I think Sonny would have been and quite frankly, with her personality and the gleam in her eye, I think Sonny would have done a great job doing some of the things that Sable did. But I just think that the general consensus was Sable was, at that time, was more cooperative, more of a team player than it was perceived that Sonny was at that point in time.
Right.
So I think that's all that was.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.